بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is our program Secrets of Fasting, and this is Dr. Tareq Rasheed. Today we are going to discuss the conditions for good sunan in Ramadan, and we will start with praying at-Tarawih. At-Tarawih, actually, our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has encouraged us to do al-Qiyam in Ramadan. And it was one of the practices that our Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam did always in Ramadan. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم من قام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. So if you go and do Qiyam in Ramadan, this is a step to actually get out of your guilts that you are doing. So it's a practice and it's a sunnah in Ramadan to do at-Tarawih. But what is the concept of at-Tarawih and where does it take its name from? Usually we have the vocabulary in, for example, in language, what does it mean? And in Sharia, what does it mean? Tarawih in language, it means taking rest. And the practice previously was that Muslims, after the praying of Al-Isha, they usually go and take rests after several ruk'ah. Usually after 4 ruk'ah, they take rest. And from this, it comes that Tarawih is taking a rest between several ruk'ah. And our Prophet Muhammad did this in Ramadan. In the first year of Ramadan, he did it continuously. Then he did it for 10 days in the second Ramadan. And the idea of our Prophet Muhammad, he did not do it continuously because he did not want that our Muslims go always that think that this is al-fard. So the best practice is to follow as-sunnah. But Al-Khalifa Umar ibn al-Khattab, he was the first who actually take this sunnah and refresh the Muslims and encourage the Muslims by that time to practice at-Tarawih in Ramadan. And since that time, it is now taken as per night in Ramadan, we practice at-Tarawih after Al-Isha. And usually its time is from after Al-Isha till dawn of the next day. عن أبي هريرة قال كان النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام يرغب في قيام رمضان من غير أن يأمرهم بعزيمة. Abu Hurairah said that our Prophet Muhammad was always urging the Muslims to do al-Qiyam in Ramadan, but without enforcing them. So the idea is to have some sort of relaxation, and at-Tarawih is one of the sunan al-mu'akkada in al-Islam. So we are encouraged always to do Tarawih. And the best practice is after we take iftar, we pray al-Maghrib, then we take a short rest, then we go for al-Isha praying. And at-Tarawih is practiced is done actually in mosques. Now, what are the several conditions to follow during at-Tarawih and how many ruk'ah they do it? It has been proved that there are no special number of ruk'ah in at-Tarawih. And عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت حين سئلت ما كان رسول الله يزيد في رمضان ولا غيره على 11 ركعة ويصلي 4 فلا تسأل عن حسنهن وطولهن ثم يصلي 4 ولا تسأل عن حسنهن وطولهن ثم يصلي 3. Aisha radiallahu anha said that when she was asked how did our Prophet Muhammad practice al-Qiyam in Ramadan, so she said that usually he do for 4 ruk'ah. The best he can do is reading continuously, then he salam, then another 4 ruk'ah, then he ends by 3 ruk'ah. So most nations and most Muslims all over the world practice 11 ruk'ah in at-Tarawih. And this is actually the practice, but it's not a must to do for this. You can increase this. Some say that it is 20 ruk'ah, 36, including, of course, al-witr. But mostly the best practice is for 8 in order not to have lengthy time of praying, except in the last 10 days we go for 20 ruk'ah. But again, I have to assure that as Muslims we are free to practice Taraweeh number of ruk'ah that we see appropriate, and whatever you can tolerate, you can practice. Now, what to read in At-Taraweeh? Any type of Al-Quran is recommended, but usually the best practice now in Ramadan in several mosques that they finish the reading all Al-Quran during Ramadan, which means in each Taraweeh day or night you do for one part of Al-Quran, and by this you will end reading the whole Quran during Ramadan. And the idea of At-Taraweeh that it should be practiced in the mosque, because you cannot practice At-Taraweeh at home. Except for women, it's recommended that women do At-Taraweeh in their home, unless there are some places and special places for women to go and practice At-Taraweeh. Now, this is the first sunnah that we want to discuss. The second and the most important also, al-i'tikaf. What is i'tikaf in language? In language, i'tikaf is to stay in a place without leaving and to free yourself for doing something you are intending to do. So this is in language, to stay for a certain time in a certain place for a certain purpose. But in al-Sharia, al-i'tikaf is staying in the mosque during the last days of Ramadan, especially the 10 last nights in Ramadan, to be totally connected with God. It's a very recommended spiritual practice that our Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam was used to practice this sunnah. What is the concept and advantage of al-i'tikaf? Is to get closer to God and be connected spiritually, totally free yourself to be with God, and this is the concept of al-i'tikaf. روي عن أنس بن مالك كان النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام يعتكف في العشر الأواخر من رمضان فلم يعتكف عاما فلما كان في العام المقبل اعتكف 20. Anas ibn Malik said that our Prophet Muhammad practiced al-i'tikaf in Ramadan. The last 10 days and nights of Ramadan, he was totally in al-i'tikaf. And in one year he practiced 10. The other year he did not practice any i'tikaf. So the following year he practiced 20. So we are recommended actually to practice al-i'tikaf, because in this you are actually connected towards God and you will get lots of credit and benefit from God once we practice this important sunnah. Whatever we can do in i'tikaf, it's if you have the free time and this not affect all other issues in your life, it's highly recommended practice to go for al-i'tikaf. Now, what is the conditions for al-i'tikaf? Al-i'tikaf, it has some sort of the what and how of al-i'tikaf. First, you have to wake up before praying. And i'tikaf is always in the mosque. You cannot practice al-i'tikaf at your home. So you have to choose a mosque that usually is very close to your home. So if your family needs any help, you can go in emergency cases. So the idea is that you should not sleep in the mosque totally before the praying. So wake up before praying to be ready for al-wudu and to be praying, ready for the praying. It also, you have to increase sunan and nawafil, increase number of praying and ruk'ah. This is highly recommended. Also, reading al-Quran during i'tikaf. One of the best practices that we can do is to practice reading al-Quran. And of course, we have to reduce eating and drinking. And the main idea of Ramadan is we can gather and integrate all types of al-ibadat. So in i'tikaf, you are fasting, you are praying, you are reading al-Quran, you are following Salat al-Jama'ah, and during the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Of course, we have Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr, Inna anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr, وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. And these are totally several benefits that we can practice. So in al-i'tikaf we are integrating several ibadat together, and it's highly recommended if we have a good time and free time for this. Now, what are the conditions for al-i'tikaf? The first condition, it's for Muslims. Other religion is not to practice al-i'tikaf, so it's especially for Muslims. This is the first condition. The second condition is at-tahara. So women who have the period or having any blood due to birth are not to practice al-i'tikaf. Also, men, when they got sperms getting out unintentionally, this will stop al-i'tikaf. And if some of these happens, we have to stop al-i'tikaf and getting out of the mosque. So this is the first condition. The second condition. The third condition is you have to make the saying that I am going al-i'tikaf for the sake of God, for the ibadah, and niyyah. So we have to have a niyyah before going to al-i'tikaf. This is another condition. Number 4, it must be done in the mosque where you follow al-jama'ah in doing al-i'tikaf. To stay in the mosque except for urgent issues. So some urgent issues you can leave and get back to al-i'tikaf. Sometimes you need to go for eating, drinking, but if other people from your family can help to bring you what you need, this is recommended. And sometimes if you want, for example, to go to see if your family needs any urgent issue, you can practice this. Although it's recommended to be totally the last 10 nights of Ramadan in the mosque practicing al-i'tikaf. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من ولا تباشروهن وأنتم عاكفون في المساجد تلك حدود الله فلا تقربوها كذلك يبين الله آياته للناس لعلهم يتقون. Of course, the other condition in i'tikaf, we cannot approach the wives, we cannot approach our wives because this will stop al-i'tikaf. You are totally in ibadah, and this is another condition. So if we practice the al-i'tikaf, what are the precedences and benefits that we can get from this important sunnah that our Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam was used to practice? The first, it's a spiritual energizing to the self-being. You are free except for al-ibadah, and this is actually a high level of spiritual energy. Also, you get more credit. وبالتالي مضاعفة الأجر. تضاعف الأجر means that you get double credit and triple credit with practicing this important sunnah. Also, you get out of your guilts. You free yourself from guilts. فهي تكفر للذنوب وتغفر الذنوب وتكفير للذنوب. And since you are with God, no chance to do guilts. And so because of this, al-i'tikaf will prevent devil from affecting you. So ash-shaytan is far away from you. And this is also one of the most important precedences of practicing al-i'tikaf. And the idea is to reach the highest level of at-tuma'nina. يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. So the idea, once you practice this important sunnah for all Ramadan you can, this is actually you increase the level of satisfaction, of feeling relaxed, and al-nafsu al-mutma'inna. So these are all important precedences for al-i'tikaf. What about for women? It's highly recommended for women to do i'tikaf at their homes, to be away from people, so the woman will be free for connecting with God. So it's recommended to practice al-i'tikaf for women at home. But if there are if they want to practice in mosques, there should be a special places in the mosque to allow women to practice al-i'tikaf. But the conditions for al-i'tikaf for women are the following. First, she had to take the permission from her husband to going for al-i'tikaf if she is married. If she is not married, she has to take the permission from al-wali, her father, her brother. And if the mosque does not have special places for women, it's prohibited to practice al-i'tikaf for women. So these are the concepts of at-tarawih and al-i'tikaf, which are a very important sunnah to do in Ramadan. Again, Ramadan is a holy month. As much as we can practice all these sunnah, it's really highly recommended, because in this we will be directly connected with God, spiritual energizing our body, and even physical energizing by practicing all these sunnah that we can practice in Ramadan. Now, are there best and bad practices in Ramadan? Actually, because of several practices, we have to clarify what are the best practices to follow in Ramadan and what are the bad practices that we should stop practicing in Ramadan. The best practices is actually reading Quran for understanding. The idea of being with Quran is not the idea is to finish reading. The concept of reading is actually at-tadabbur. You have to think to increase your deep thinking and understanding of Al-Quran. Sometimes reading only 2 ayah in Al-Quran with concentration, with understanding, with trying to connect these ayah with life, it's better than just finish reading without understanding. So Al-Quran we have to read with full concentration, with deep concentration. So the idea and the best practice, read to understand. And sometimes we have in Ramadan some time other than other days that to go for reading with concentration. The other, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, الذين آتيناهم الكتاب يتلونه حق تلاوته أولئك الذين يؤمنون به ومن يكفر به هم الخاسرون. And this is from God that we have to read Al-Quran with full understanding. So in this episode, we summarize the importance of As-Sunnah, Sunan, which are At-Tarawih and Al-I'tikaf. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our program, Secrets of Fasting, and this is Dr. Tareq Rasheed. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. Tareq Rasheed, our program Secrets of Fasting. In this episode we'll consider the importance of Al-Quran and reading Al-Quran in Ramadan, because this actually will increase the concept of being connected with God. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أنزل أحسن الحديث كتابا متشابها مثاني تقشعر منه جلود الذين يخشون ربهم ثم تلين جلودهم وقلوبهم إلى ذكر الله ذلك هدى الله يهدي به من يشاء ومن يضلل الله فما له من هاد. So the whole concept of Al-Quran is for at-taqwa, to increase the concept of being connected with God. And usually in Ramadan, it's highly recommended to understand the concept of Al-Quran and try to apply in our lives. وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام الماهر بالقرآن مع السفرة الكرام البررة. So our Prophet Muhammad said that if you practice reading Quran and you become one of the people who are totally connected with the Quran, this is a high level in heaven once we meet God and we inshallah go to heaven all. Ramadan is a school, and in this school the main book in this school is Al-Quran. So we have to learn and apply Al-Quran in our lives. Now, also, what are the best practices? We started the last episode with the best practices. The second best practice is to attend lessons or seminars that will help you to understand more about Ramadan. And usually in Ramadan, you will find several societies or organizations or mosques that they do some sort of halaqat or seminars that will allow people to attend and share in discussions to understand more about Ramadan. So it is a recommended practice actually to attend such seminars and to discuss with people trying to understand more about Ramadan. What is the best practice also? Number 3 is relation to be effective through gathering. So the idea of Ramadan is to go and visit people and be connected with others. Sit with your wife, sit with your husband, sit with your kids, with your children, with your relatives. The idea is to discuss more about Ramadan, its conditions, its importance, its precedences, and so on. So this will encourage people to get connected to Ramadan, and we recommend that fathers and mothers be discussing with their kids and children the importance of this holy month. Because of this, they will start attending, for example, discussions for Ramadan. They start following their mothers and fathers in practicing the best practice in Ramadan. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال تعالى واعبدوا الله ولا تشركوا به شيئا وبالوالدين إحسانا وبذي القربى. Another best practice is Silatul Rahm. And we have sometimes, because of the busy life in modern days, sometimes you don't have time to visit your relatives. And in Ramadan, because you have some sort of time in such a case, we recommend that Silatul Rahm, increase visits to other people and especially your relatives. Even if you have problems or misunderstanding during the year with your relatives, it's a chance in Ramadan to clarify all these issues, to get closer to people, to be connected with them. And in Ramadan, remember that it is forgiving, so you can forgive people for their mistakes. And this is a chance to be connected again with your relatives. صلة الرحم الأرحام قال عليه الصلاة والسلام إن الله خلق الخلق حتى إذا فرغ منهم قامت الرحم فقالت هذا مقام العائد من القطيعة قال نعم ما ترضين أن أصل من وصلك وأقطع من قطعك قالت بلى قال لك ذلك. When الرحم was created, God promised that if you connect with your الرحم and relatives, God will connect you with all others. But if you spread الرحم and you did not visit arham, you will suffer a lot. Hopefully, we will all practice visiting our relatives. Also, the best practices in Ramadan to remember that all your senses are fasting. So the eyes are fasting from looking to things that are prohibited to look at. Your ears are fasting. Your tongue is fasting. Your hands, your legs, and the most important is your heart, which is totally connected. And again, one of the most important values in Ramadan is to increase at-taqwa. And our Prophet Muhammad said, at-taqwa ha huna. It's in the heart, as our Prophet mentioned, at-taqwa ha huna. And usually the heart is the main issue in Ramadan. Once you are connected to your heart with your God, this is the idea of spiritual connection, and at-taqwa is increased through this. But this is the best practices. But we found that some people practice bad practices that we recommend to stop such bad practices in Ramadan. It become actually some sort of habitual actions. So what are the bad practices that we are recommended to stop practicing? Some people reverse day and night. You will find them all day sleeping because of fasting, then all night they are waking up and sometimes actually wasting time. So this is not the idea of Ramadan, is to reverse the concept of day and night. It's jihad. Jihad means that you are patient, you practice this patience, you practice fasting during the day, you feel Ramadan during the day. So actually lots of youth now reverse the concept of night and day during Ramadan. We encourage the youth to stop practicing this, and also some people, although maybe mature people, practice reversing nights and days. Bad practice is not to go to mosque to practice all sunnah, at-tarawih, al-i'tikaf, because some people have the excuse that they don't have time, and actually even if they have time, laziness is always there. So this is a bad practice. Try your best to be engaged in al-jama'ah, in praying in mosque in Ramadan. This will increase actually your connectivity with God as well with people. One of the also bad practices is watching TV for long hours, and usually you will find several TV channels in Ramadan increase the number of films and series, and you'll find some people, especially women, practice lots of watching TV, sometimes for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, and this is actually a bad practice, because not the idea of Ramadan is to waste time until al-Maghrib came. No, the idea is to be totally in connection with God. It's a chance. We have to invest this chance in order we can get all the benefits from Ramadan and its all precedence and merits. Also, one of the bad practices is exaggerating al-iftar invitations. So you'll find every day we have invitations, we go this here. It's good to go for invitations to connect with people, but exaggerating the number of invitations. Some families, they find every day they have visitors in Ramadan, every day and night, and this will make the wife tired in preparing this type of dinner and iftar for them. So this is not a good practice to exaggerate the invitations for people. We recommend that we connect with people. We recommend that you go and give iftar for people, for poor people especially, but exaggeration is highly prohibited because it will spend hours and times and even expensive for some families. And in addition, it will affect actually praying, affect doing Taraweeh, al-i'tikaf, because you are committed with your visitors, and this will, you lose the chance to follow al-jama'ah and go to mosque. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وكلوا واشربوا ولا تسرفوا إنه لا يحب المسرفين. So God does not encourage us to spend much on invitations and even money. This is a bad practice. We find that most families in some countries invest more in Ramadan, although Ramadan is the holy month for fasting. That is to stop spending several money in just for food. So these are bad practices, and we recommend also that in Ramadan it's a skill, the skill of learning how to be patient. So invest in this by reading more about Ramadan, read about best practices. Some countries actually engage people in some projects and in some voluntary work to strengthen the relation between several societies and entities and individuals. And this is, again, it's a highly recommended practice. The youth have lots of activity, they have lots of passion, they have lots of power, so we can invest in this by engaging them to serve their society in Ramadan. It's a good practice. Now, as Ramadan is now finalizing its nights and days, and we are saying goodbye for Ramadan, Eid al-Fitr is approaching, so God always give the chance to all Muslims to celebrate after doing most important ibadat and arkan. So you'll find Eid al-Fitr coming after the event of Ramadan, Eid al-Adha coming after Hajj. So this is the chance, it's for celebration. So we celebrate that we obey our God during Ramadan, and this is the concept of Al-Eid, for celebration, and actually that we did what God asked us to do during Ramadan. So the idea of celebration, and there are some sort of a sunan to do and some things that to avoid doing during Eid al-Fitr. So what are the best sunnah to do in Al-Eid al-Fitr. First, at-takbir. And takbir saying Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillah alhamd. So you repeat this starting from the last night of Ramadan till the end of Eid praying. You always at-takbir, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walhamdulillah. And you repeat this. Also, before going to Salat al-Eid, you have to take a bath. So to prepare for al-Eid praying. The third is you have to dress the best clothes that you have. And there is always a good tradition in most countries that celebrate Eid al-Adha that they start buying before Eid come new clothes, new dresses, and usually in order to let the children and the kids celebrate the coming Eid and feel happy. So it's highly recommended to get a new dress for Al-Eid to show that you are celebrating Eid al-Fitr. Also, you have, before going to Salat al-Eid, to put a good fragrance, to have a good smell, because you are gathering with other Muslims in Al-Eid. Eating at least some dates before going, because we are breaking the fast, we are celebrating Eid, so it's highly recommended and it's a sunnah to eat some dates before going to Eid praying. And while you are going to Eid praying, you in a loud voice, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, at-takbir. This is a sunnah and we have to practice this. Number 7, sunnah of Al-Eid is you change the track. While you go from one track, you get from another track, and this is highly recommended. And of course, Al-Eid is to be in the mosque. You pray Al-Eid in the mosque, so with other people, and you start actually congratulating them for achieving the benefits of Ramadan. تقبل الله منا ومنكم. It's a good practice. Also, it's a sunnah. And here, it's highly recommended to accompany your wife, your kids, to attend Eid praying, because all are celebrating the Eid and its benefits. Also, we have to listen to Al-Khutbah, and Al-Khutbah and Eid is usually after the Salat al-Eid. Listen deeply, understand, and usually in Khutbah al-Eid, the Imam discuss the conditions for Eid, recommend some steps to do during Eid, some good advice, and some things that not to practice during Eid. Usually this is the Khutbah al-Eid will be about. Also, shaking hands with the Muslims and saying تقبل الله منا ومنكم is a good practice that we are showing all type of celebrations. But they are some sort of bad practices and habits that we have to stop doing during Al-Eid. And what are these? Spending too much money on sweets, eating and drinking. The idea is this will affect your health. So you are getting out of Ramadan, physically health, emotionally, spiritually. So don't actually pollute this type of physical fitness. So most practices in some families, they go for lots of sweets, lots of drinking and eating, and this is to be actually reduced in order to keep healthy. The second bad practice is going to visit tombs. It's not recommended to visit tombs in Eid al-Adha. You can visit dead people any time of the year, not specifically in Al-Eid, because we are celebrating. So our Prophet Muhammad recommended to visit tombs, al-maqabir, but not necessarily in Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Adha, because some practices they do this and they remember that they have dead people only in Al-Eid. So dead people have left, they need our dua. This is the concept of Al-Eid. Then what is another bad practice is spending too much time in markets and in streets and just wasting time, and this is actually not recommended, because the idea of Eid is to celebrate, to gather with people, to celebrate them, to congratulate on doing Ramadan. Also, celebrating Eid in ways that are prohibited. Sometimes we find lots of music, sometimes lots of issues that are prohibited to practice in Al-Islam, and sometimes it's practiced during Al-Eid, so it's recommended to stop such bad practices. Now, what are some of the ideas that would help us to celebrate Eid al-Fitr? Preparation and engaging all the family in preparing for Al-Eid is highly recommended. So you ask your children, you ask your wife, your relatives to do some sort of preparation because the Eid is coming. So arranging and preparing themselves for Al-Eid is a good practice, and this will help celebrating the coming Eid. Also making a modest but not exaggerated invitation to all your relatives. So you invite all your relatives to your home to celebrate Al-Eid, and this is a good preparation for this invitation, but we don't exaggerate spending lots of money. There are needy people, there are poor people that we can help them instead of such exaggerated meals and invitations that are done. Also running and arranging some projects and initiatives to engage people in celebrating Al-Eid. You will find seminars that discuss the Al-Eid concept. So we encourage to make such sort of invitations to engage people in celebration of Al-Eid. And the idea is actually to combine people. Number 5, also visiting patients in hospitals. There are some people who are not practicing Al-Eid. They are prevented for some reasons not to be able to join the celebration. So these are feeling some sort of need to join with. So we recommend that you visit hospitals for patients to say congratulations and to reduce their pain. Also identifying some people, some children, some women who are suffering the absence of father, the absence of family. It's a good practice to go and share with those all the concepts of Al-Eid and congratulation. There are children who lost their fathers, who are in need, actually in love, and we have to specify the needs of some people in Al-Eid and try to satisfy their needs. Children needs love. For example, old people, you'll find them in shelters rather in homes. We can arrange some sort of visits to old people, and old people need respect and care. So this is a good practice to be with people in Ramadan, in Al-Eid, to join all people and try to satisfy their needs. Now, after Ramadan and Eid, what should we do? So this month is a very important month. It's a holy month. It's a chance from God to all Muslims to get all the benefits. So after we get of Ramadan and Al-Eid, we now start the lessons. What have we learned? And usually it's recommended practice to sit by yourself, discuss what benefits have I got from Ramadan? What issues that I did in this Ramadan and it's must to do in next Ramadan. So this is what we call lessons learned. And usually we should prepare ourselves to get with ourselves to understand what have we done, what have we practiced, in order that the second year of coming Ramadan, we will go for good preparation for the coming Ramadan. And by this, our program Secrets of Fasting wish you all Muslims happy Eid and Holy Ramadan Mubarak to all of you. This is our program Secrets of Fasting. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Dr. Tareq Rasheed. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This is Dr. Tareq Rasheed and our program is Secrets of Fasting. In the last episodes we discussed the concept of fasting. What do we mean by fasting? we define the different types of fasting as well as we define the conditions for fasting. Now let's go deeper into more of the secrets of fasting, and today we will discuss what are the things that will abolish the fasting and you have to repeat the fasting. There are several issues. If done, this means that fasting has to be stopped and either repeated or you have to act by al-fidya. The first one is if you go for what we call unintentionally things that would go to your mouth, throat or stomach or even the brain. This may include some sort of injection, some sort of drops, and by the way, there are some drops that would not affect, so fasting can continue, but there are some certain types of drops or injection that would abolish fasting. And if it is unintentionally, however, if it's done unintentionally, this is another issue and you can continue fasting. عليه الصلاة والسلام قال رسول الله من أكل أو شرب ناسيا فليتم صومه. The second is vomiting intentionally. Again, if you try to get out something of your stomach by intention, this means that we have to go and repeat fasting. Third, if we approach wives or husbands intentionally, then we have to stop fasting and we have actually to repeat fasting. But after this approach, you have to continue fasting till sunset, but there should be some sort of conditions to apply here. First, you continue fasting as we mentioned to the rest of the day, but in such a case we have to pay for al-kaffara. And al-kaffara is to free, either you free one Muslims, and now it is very difficult to find people that are want to get freedom, but you can do it by fasting 2 successive months is another type of al-kaffara, or you feed 60 poor needy people. So this is a kaffara if you approach your wife or your husband intentionally during the day of Ramadan. The type or number 4 type of things that abolish fasting is onanism intentionally. Then again you have to stop. You can continue fasting, but this to be repeated. And of course, the number 5 that would cause abolish of fasting is for women, the monthly period, blood after giving birth or giving birth even without blood. This means the woman have to stop fasting. Number 6 for abolishing of fasting is madness or losing conscious or alcoholic effect. In such a case, you are not permitted to continue fasting. And number 7, which is the last one that would cause people to get out even of Islam, is getting out of Islam, then fasting does not mean anything, which we call al-ridda. So these are the 7 concepts or issues that if done would mean that fasting is broken and you have to repeat or you have to pay for al-kaffara. Now let's discuss in this episode the importance of other worships during Ramadan and what type of ibadat we can practice in Ramadan. We mentioned that Laylatul Qadr, which is Al-Qadr night, is one of the best nights all over the year. So it's good to wait for this night, and Al-I'tikaf is part of this. Also, they said in Umrah in Ramadan equals Hajj. Umratun fi Ramadan ta'dulu Hajj. So if you can reach Mecca and go for Umrah in Ramadan, it's highly recommended because this is you gain more credit for doing Umrah in Ramadan. Also as-sadaqah. And the sadaqah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَالَّذِينَ فِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ مَعْلُومٌ لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وأنفقوا مما جعلكم مستخلفين فيه فالذين آمنوا منكم وأنفقوا لهم أجر كبير. So a sadaqah is always a high credit for people all over the year, but in Ramadan it has a special merits and advantages. So this is Ramadan the privilege is equal to 10 or 700 times الصدقة in other days. Also, كان رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام very generous. Our Prophet Muhammad عليه الصلاة والسلام was very generous in Ramadan. Number 5, الزكاة. If it's time for zakah and it comes with Ramadan, you will get other merit by and benefits of giving zakah in Ramadan. But if the time comes before Ramadan and it's time for zakah, you have to give zakah on its time. But if it is you get earlier and accelerate this in Ramadan before the time for zakah, it's good also a practice to present your zakah. Also in Ramadan, after we finish Ramadan, there is what we call zakat al-fitr, that we have to pay money for people, and this is zakat al-fitr. By this, it actually purify you and you get out of Ramadan. Zakat al-fitr وهي واجب على كل مسلم. Each Muslim has to pay zakat al-fitr. وهنالك there are several آيات in Al-Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا من طيبات ما كسبتم ومما أخرجنا لكم من الأرض ولا تيمموا الخبيث منه تنفقون ولستم بآخذيه إلا أن تغمضوا فيه واعلموا أن الله غني حميد. And in this ayah from Al-Baqarah, we can see that it's very important to give a sadaqah, to give part of your money to people. There are more secrets of Ramadan. Let's see what are some secrets that actually proved in research for Ramadan. First, if we look for the sickness and illness, now it has been proved by medical research that cancer is affected positively once we practice fasting. And fasting will either serve prevention of cancer or even correction of cancer. Because cancer is actually a nutrition problem. So the cells start acting and start reacting with the cancer, and this will affect the body. And it has been proven by lots of medical research nowadays that cancer will be delayed or prevented if we practice fasting. So we should avoid and stop also the means that may be harmful to our bodies. So they found that fasting, whether this fasting is actually in Ramadan or fasting at tatawwu, for example, Monday and Thursday, or even intermittent fasting, has several advantages over our body and physical health. And now emotionally, it will flourish all your body, your heart, and your mind by practicing fasting. And actually, Ramadan is a month of change. It's a month of change on all levels. Even change of timing of eating. So we used to go for 3 meals, for example, and in between meals, now we go for al-iftar and al-suhoor. And by this, when we reduce the time of eating and the number of meals, we will get lots of benefits. So changing of the style and lifestyle of eating. So this is one case of change. Another is change of the routine tasks. So we have done so and so during days of not Ramadan. Now in Ramadan, we change even the routine of the working days. And the relations between people get better. So in all aspects, Ramadan is considered as a holy month, but also a change month for positive. So this is the usual trend in Ramadan, but we have to set some sort of planning in order to get benefit of the time of Ramadan. And always think of a sadaqah, think of being with others, think of forgiving others, think of visiting friends that you have a long time you did not visit. Go for your relatives. Silat al-Rahim is very important in Ramadan to activate the visits with your relatives. This is on the personal level. But also on the society level, some organizations now think of what we call voluntary works to support needy people in Ramadan. So also it's a good practice to be engaged in voluntary projects that will help our society, that will help needy people in Ramadan. and this is a good practice to be engaged in part of all of these activities. So this is what we meant by you have to set a plan for the holy month of Ramadan. This is on personal level and on family level, where you can go with your kids or with your wife, your parents, to increase the relations with people and to reverse this and reflect this on your society by engaging in voluntary works. In other days of Ramadan, you find lots of people just sleeping on WhatsApp, on technology. They don't invest in their time. So this type have to be stopped, which is the not urgent and not important. What about important but not urgent? Important but not urgent, which means that you have to start thinking in Ramadan before it comes. You set some sort of goals. Always look for excellent goals, positive goals. So this is important but not urgent now. But once Ramadan comes, it will become one of the tasks that we have to be engaged and do it. So it always said that time is like a sword. If you don't cut it, you will be cut with. And Ramadan is a chance actually to invest in the time properly. For the al-ibadat also, it's very important. They are important and urgent to do in time. So praying, sadaqah, zakah, all of these are to be actually utilized and invested once we are in the praying month of Ramadan. So this was the concept of planning, that we are investing actually our time in Ramadan. But they found also that we have several bad habits that are practiced in Ramadan, and we start to think of stopping such habits. As we mentioned, that Ramadan is a month for change, and always in change, you have to study the concept of what we call we are ready for change, and we must change. And there's إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. So what are the bad habits that we practiced before Ramadan and we have to stop in Ramadan? One of the most bad habits now is considered the technology, and the misuse of technology is one of the bad habits that most people are actually not controlling the impact of technology. Technology is there, as I mentioned, to be for your advantage, but if misused, this will cause lots of issues. And now they found there are new crimes now is according to using the technology and the computers. So one of the bad habits is to go for long times and long hours sitting in front or in using these types of technology. One of the most bad habits that we have to stop. And by the way, while fasting, you are obeying God, so we prevent youth, especially the youth, especially youth in universities as well as in schools. This is one of the bad habits. The second bad habit that is found practiced, that people spend too much money on food and drinking on Ramadan, while actually the opposite is required, that you get a benefit of this fasting, but you have to go for this money. This money could be actually given to other needy people. So one of the bad habits usually practiced by buying much food, much drinking, so to support the concept of fasting. And usually once people are suffering from hunger, they buy lots of issues that they usually don't use. And sometimes we lose the effectiveness of fresh vegetables. So let's stop such issue of buying too much food and drinking during Ramadan. And also one of the bad habits that we eat too much at al-iftar. وعليه الصلاة والسلام قال ثلث لطعامك وثلث لشرابك وثلث لنفسك, which means it's divided into three issues. We have 1/3 of the stomach for eating, 1/3 for drinking, and 1/3 for breathing. But some people practice full stomach and they go for, which means 100% eating, and even they don't have time for breathing, and this will cause lots of problems. They cannot go now for a Taraweeh and so on. So let's stop the concept of eating too much, drinking too much. One of the also bad habits is to sleep for all the day, from dawn up to sunset, under the concept of I am fasting. So fasting, as we mentioned, is the month of al-jihad. It's not there for encouraging laziness and just doing nothing and just spending hours waiting for iftar. This is not the concept of Ramadan at all. It's the investment, the time management, the good investing on all resources that you have. So let's energize ourselves. And one of the also bad habits practiced is to waste time by going with bad friends, or sometimes we do issues that are irrelevant in order to waste time. As I mentioned in this episode, let's start planning for this holy month. Let's put goals, let's define objectives, what are the resources, how to divide time between all issues, and even divide the week, get benefits from Al-Jum'ah, Saturday holiday. It's a part of investing. Also, some people start planning for Al-Umrah in Ramadan, and this is a good practice. What to do in the last 10 days of Ramadan. All these types of planning will actually help that we can benefit and invest in the holy month of Ramadan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.